I'd like to call this meeting to order. I guess we're doing roll call first. Everyone is here with the exception of Jonathan, and I believe Mary will be coming shortly. Would you please all rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you all for coming for this special meeting early this morning. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So made.
By Stacy, second.
Second.
By Michael. Any comments or questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries 5-0. On our agenda is new business, approval of the adjusted Hamilton Ridge site plan. Dr. Stallo and Mr. Holbrook.
Excellent. As you know, we've been working with the City of Savage for the last several weeks on the site plan for Hamilton Ridge, and we wanted to provide you an update and seek approval on some adjustments of the site plan that we've made at the request and expectation of the Savage City Council. So with that, I'll let Jeff walk us through the changes and the presentation a little bit. Thanks.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Shimmick, members of the board, Dr. Stallo. I'm here to share with you the revised site plan for City Council consideration, for board consideration. As you know, coming through the process, design team had a slightly different site plan for Hamilton Ridge. Through that process, and I know there's a memo in your board packet that provides sort of that clarification, we have, per city's request, created a revised site plan that's in your board packet. What we have done is we have added a road from here to here, which would be gated and allow for families that are dropping students off on this loop to either go to the left to go south to 157th or to go north through this new road and then exit out the north side of the property. So this is what council has asked for. It is a one-way street. This portion here, and I'll erase my markings. This is also the this is also for deliveries as well. So for traffic during arrival and dismissal, this would be a one-way out. But during the day, this would be for deliveries because this is where our receiving is for the school. And so there would be signs stipulating that it's one way only, do not enter unless it's delivery. And then of course, arrows here in this portion of the road. And then we're looking at a gate here and a gate here that would be when traffic is not going through or during arrival and dismissal, we would have closed at the site. So with that, I will turn it over for any questions.
Jeff, could you just show us, as a parent drops off in the morning, that lower area, where are they coming in, from over on the left or the right?
So as parents are coming in on 157th, they would come in through here, through this portion, and they would queue along this portion here. We have factored in enough queuing for 60 cars, which is quite a bit more than what we have at our other sites. Parents would come off. This is where the main entry would be, would drop students off here, and then would have a choice of either going out this way or going out this way.
Does anyone have any questions? Michael?
I just want to make sure, I know part of the way it was originally designed was to ensure student safety. I assume the planning team is comfortable that with those gated areas, we would still maintain that level of safety for the students.
We had to certainly take that into account because here's where, as you're familiar with the plan, here's where our gymnasium is. And in many of our schools, the gymnasium is fairly proximal to outside field space. So during the day, we would anticipate students going back and forth for physical education or coming across and going up here. And so we had to put measures in with those two gates in order to not have traffic going through there during the day in order to maintain a safe site. So,
Thank you.
And that was the reason, you know, originally we didn't have that through road. We wanted the separate bus entrance and front parking lot, which is different than any of our other sites. So we definitely took into consideration during the site plan, listening to some of the concerns from some of the other sites to make sure we separated that traffic and then also separated the delivery on that. We've oversized that parking lot to take care of some of the concerns with parking. And then what we'll have to do is, you know, make sure that for the safety of students, that gate is open and closed, you know, whether it's 30 minutes before school and 30 minutes at dismissal. You know, figure out what that timing is, and then otherwise it's locked and shut during the rest of the day, during the weekends. That road would have, that
No,
road would have
actually, that road-
stopped. There, that,
during our original site plan did not have a road there at all.
the road would have, or the road for the deliveries would have stopped right there. So the rest of that space would have just been wide open.
Any other, Stacy?
As far as like Kids Co., because, you know, this, all the dropping off and the, you know, it's various times. Is there any concern, are they outside? You know, I'm just thinking when parents are dropping off at various times, if they're outside on the field, you know, what, you know, I guess I have concerns that way with having something open.
No, and that's certainly been part of our conversation as well. And so with Kids Company, one of the, I guess, benefits of this site is as parents are dropping off, they're coming into the main entry. Kids Company would be within the cafeteria here, where students would have their materials. They would also have access to the gym. That's typical during a morning Kids Company. And if they were to use the playground, which is normally where they would go, they would walk through the building to get to the playground area.
Oh, okay. So they wouldn't
Kids
necessarily.
Company is not using
Okay.
those fields at any of our sites. They're using largely playground, gymnasium, or cafeteria space.
Okay. And even, I mean, I don't know if you talked about this, I can't remember, but special events or things like that. I know there was some discussion at the council about that, having it, you know, open during that. And I guess, I know we have some concerns about that depending on what type of event and that kind of thing. So maybe talk about that a little bit.
No, and I think it's, as we look at special events that are happening at the building, whether they're during the school day or if there's school events at night, we're gonna have to look at those as a case-by-case basis. I mean, ultimately, if there's a large event and it facilitates, you know, better traffic flow and we're not compromising student safety, if there's outside events, then it probably is gonna make sense that we have that open. But if there are things happening outside or in another place where it doesn't make sense to have this road open for traffic to go through, then it will be closed. So largely, council's concern was morning arrival and dismissal. You know, they felt, despite what the traffic study said, they felt that there would be too much traffic for neighborhood streets that would be to the west.
Any other comments or questions?
I have one more,
Mayor?
sorry.
Oh, you did, one more you want to finish?
Yeah, I just had one more. Just as far as the gate operation, I mean, is it something that, I don't know if you know this yet, but is it manual or is it something that we control at the office? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just as far as, I mean, I'm assuming we're gonna have cameras back there to be able to see what's going on, that kind of stuff?
No, we'll be looking, I assume it will not be manual, it'll most likely be electric. But we'll have to look at what that looks like. There will be cameras on each gate for, you know, lifting and lowering or sliding, whatever the gate design is.
Well, and I mean, I can see people on the weekends, just, I don't know. I mean, sometimes people fool around with stuff. Hey, I'm having an event here, let me lift this thing up.
Yeah.
You know, I hope we would have, you know, obviously security in there enough that
Correct.
that's not something that people can mess with, because for me, just to have that as an option, I mean, you know, this isn't best practice as far as safety is concerned, because that was our last design, so having this compromise, I want to make sure that, you know, we take every precaution we can and know that, you know, obviously this isn't our preference, but we're doing this based on feedback from the council.
Mary?
Did this plan, did the routing or anything like that have to be approved by the fire department or anything like that to make sure that there was adequate access for emergency vehicles in any type of event?
So prior to, you know, with our original site plan, everything was approved through planning commission, you know, with the roads the way they were. I would presume that this would also be approved as well. There's been nothing noted that would indicate that this is, you know, doesn't meet the criteria set forth for emergencies.
Is there any emergency plan, like if you did have even a fire drill?
Yep.
Which side would the fire trucks come in?
So we would have to, once, as we get into that, I mean, the fire trucks are gonna come in here, and they're gonna come in here, or here. So they really have front, side, and really access to almost most of the building, just with what we have there. Come on up, please.
Hello, Council. When we did our original site plan, the plan before this change, the fire department did look at the plan. We had it at the planning commission meeting, and the road, thank you. This road right here connecting was an addition that the fire department requested, and to connect the bus lot and the lower parking lot. And they were fine with the access around the building with just that addition at that time.
Okay, and the entry and exit ways were large enough despite the lanes and all that, particularly on the 157th side in case
They
they
did
need-
not note that they were not, so but they did say with that addition of connecting those two lots, they were fine with the access for the site.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I do have, oh, I'm
Oh.
sorry.
Yeah,
I do have one more
Okay.
note for the board, but
go ahead.
Go ahead.
this morning. You know, it is important for the board to know that with this revised site plan, that we're estimating the cost of the road, security measures, additional planning around this to be almost $175,000. So this does have a price tag to having this, this site plan amended. So it's important for the board to know that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Henry?
All right, so I'm looking at the delivery area on the top portion of the road.
Yes.
You mentioned that that's a one-way in. What are the typical deliveries or drop-off times? I'm just thinking of potential conflict with pickup or drop-off.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask Maureen to come up and speak to that.
A couple of things. So we have our trash back there as well, trash delivery pickup. So those are usually during daytime hours. They're not usually not before school starts. They happen during the day. Deliveries are also during the day after school starts because we have to accept the deliveries.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the adjusted Hamilton Site Ridge site plan? By Stacy, second.
Second.
By Enrique. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Moving on to the purchase agreement amendment.
Yes. You have before you an amendment to adjust the closing date to May 22nd.
Does anyone have any questions? Stacy?
Is that the only change as far as?
That's the only change.
And councils, I'm assuming our councils looked at this, approved it?
Yes, yep, yes,
legal
our
counsel.
legal
Our legal
counsel,
counsel,
our
yeah.
legal counsel has reviewed this, drafted this, and been in communication with PLA.
Any other comments or questions?
Comment or question that I had was, I know we had moved it out because of obviously weather and everything else.
Yes.
Have they done the appropriate soil surveys before the closing, and has that already been completed?
Yes, they have, we have been monitoring throughout the process.
Okay.
The contingency date was the or date that was moved during the second amendment. Closing date has always been May 15th, but just given, you know, relative our work with the city council, made sense just to extend it out a week so that council could take their action on Monday night.
Well, I thought original one was sometime in January or something.
That was our contingency.
It's contingency
Yep.
one, okay.
A lot of dates in these contracts.
Any other comments or questions? Melissa?
Dates, are we on time for a fall opening?
Depending on what it looks like, should council take action on the 20th, and we have a closing on the 22nd as listed here, we should be on track. If there's any further delays, we might have some problems.
Seems pretty quick.
It does. So, but we're gonna do what we can, we're gonna do what we can to, you know, once council takes action and, you know, we have the closing date, things will move very quickly.
And that original closing date, the contingency got moved, but that original closing date was today.
Yeah, today.
So this is a week later. And, you know, we'll be sure that the construction folks are ready to go.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the adjusted closing date for the purchase agreement for,
So moved.
by Mary, second,
Second?
by Enrique? Any comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
The last item on our agenda is the study session on May 20th. That's a scheduled session. It was originally scheduled for 6 PM. I would like to recommend that we move that to 5 so that we can conclude our meeting and attend the Savage City Council meeting, which follows. And that, the Savage City Council meeting is at 7. I don't know where we'll be on the agenda, but it would be, give us a little bit more time. That evening, during our work session, we'll be talking about the budget enrollment, construction updates, and the Hamilton Ridge bids. And those you received copies of to have a chance to look at ahead of time. Hopefully, we can speed up that process when we do come to the meeting. And then review the boundary options. And we'll allow some time for public input, but that will be limited because we have a limited amount of time to work with. And then we also need to open the meeting after we've discussed any comments you have about the bids. We'll need to approve the bids that night. So all of this in an effort to keep the project moving forward. We've already approved some bids for Hamilton Ridge, so that's already in place. These would continue the process. Hopefully, we will be able to close on the land, and we'll get the approval from the council, close on the land, and be ready to go right away the next day. That's my understanding. So, did you have anything to add to that, Terry?
No, I think that by starting at 5 o'clock, we did take a couple other agenda items off the study session, and we'll just move those. They were some of the priority result updates. So we'll move those to the June 10th meeting, just to, again, allow us plenty of time for the most important business and most timely business at hand.
Mary?
And the only question I have is, with limiting or not having as much public comment, are we going to then extend the next meeting to allow additional time for anybody who wanted to speak?
I'm not expecting that we'll need to do that.
Okay.
And I would encourage people that haven't spoke, that they would have an opportunity to speak first.
Okay.
At that meeting. And actually, to your point, Terry, I think your evaluation, we'll be moving that forward. It won't be on the 20th, which was originally the plan in the calendar. It'll be moved to the 10th, so it won't be on the 20th when we have a closed session.
Okay.
Everything will move ahead of meeting. Any other comments, Michael?
Just a clarification, at the meeting where we vote and boundaries is on the agenda, is open comment allowed on the boundary issue? It would not be, correct?
No, it would not be.
So we won't make space at this actual board meeting, correct? Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? No other comments? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
By Stacy, second by Melissa. Pardon?
I said it's a rush.
Oh. I was thinking done. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries 6-0. Thanks again for coming so early this morning, for everybody.